Hi, I'd like to talk about a new feature in the Alma September 2015 release, preventing the overlay or merge of a new record by an old one. So this feature relates to metadata import. You want to make sure that the records are being imported in sequence and we don't have old records overriding newer records. So in this demonstration, we'll create an import profile that prevents such overlays of records. And we'll look at our example here. I'm looking at a book called Re-examining the Civil War. And if we take a look at this record, we'll see there's a new field here, originating system version. Now, this is the date of the last update. And we also have a field here called originating system. In this case, it's WorldCat, OCLC. And Alma will use these two fields, the originating system and the originating system version, to know whether a record is new or old. Now, this is a new field, and for records that were imported before the September release, this field is not yet populated, and I can show you later how you can run a normalization routine that will populate this field for those records. But for any records updated from the September 2015 release and onwards, Alma automatically fills in the data in this field based on the 005 field. So during import, this information will be populated based on 005. Let's go back to our record. So what we're going to do now is run a metadata import of the same record. Alma will identify a match, and the record we're going to try to import is going to be an older one. So Alma will prevent the overlaying, because we're going to configure the import profile to keep the new record and not import the old record. So to create an import profile, we go to Alma, Resource Configuration, Configuration menu. And under Record Import, we go to Import Profiles. And let's add a new profile. Repository Import, next. And we'll call this Import Keep New Record. And in the description, don't override merge new records by old ones. Now this is important. We have to choose the originating system because Alma will use that for the comparison. So in our case, it's WorldCat. Next. Next. And now we're in the match profile section. And first we decide on a match method. In my case, we'll use the 035 identifier match method. And upon match, let's say overlay. But, and here's the important and new part for the September release, we don't want to overlay in case of an old record. So do not override merge record with an older version. We have three options here. If this is disabled, Alma will not check at all, and the record will be overlaid. If we ignore originating system, Alma will simply check the date, the originating system version, and decide according to the date whether to override or not. So an older record will not be imported. And if we consider originating system, as we will in this example, Alma will first check that both records are from the same system and only then check the date and decide whether to import the record. So this was the important part of our demo. Next. Next. And save. Obviously, we didn't go into all the configurations of an import profile. We're just looking at the new feature. Now, to run the import, let's look for our newly created import profile. Import keep new record. And actions run import. And the file that we're going to import is this one, Civil War title. It's the same title with the same ID as the one I showed you before, only the one that's currently in Alma has a system version date from 2015, and this one has a 005 field from 2013. Let's take a look at that for a second. Okay, this is the record I'm going to attempt to import, and if we look at its 005 field, we can see it's from 2013. The same title, Re-examining the Civil War. So this is the record we're importing. And let's select this. So Civil War title, this is what we're importing, add. And to run the job, we'll click on submit. And the job is currently running. Let's give it a refresh. Okay, completed successfully. And now let's look at the report. And we can see here that the status is successful. One file was processed and one record processed, and total records not imported or deleted is 1. That's actually a good thing because we wanted to prevent the overlay of the newer record by the old one. And let's take a look here at records not imported. We have one record not imported. Total records matched and skipped is 1. And the reason it was not imported is records with newer version and repository. We successfully prevented the overlay of the record. So that's the new feature. One more thing I wanted to show you was how to populate the originating system version for records that were imported before September 2015. So let's look for the record I showed you before. This record over here, we can see has the originating system version 2015. And this is the field that we want to update or change. So we can run a normalization routine that updates this field for a set of records. So let's see how we create the process that runs the normalization routine. Under Alma menu, Resource Configuration, Configuration menu. Under General, we go to Processes. And Business Entity, Bibliographic Title. Add Process, Business Entity, Bibliographic Title. And the type is Mark 21 Bib Normalization. Or if you're using Unimark or Cormac, then you would select those options. Next. And we'll call this Populate Originating System Info. Populates the originating system info, name and date. Next. Select the option Update Originating System Information. Click Add to Selection. And we can see that it's been added. Click Next. And now we select whether to populate both the system and the date, or only one of these two. In our case, we'd like to populate both. So originating system. In our example, let's say we want to populate it with WorldCat. And the version, let's say, would be September 1st, 2015. Make sure to check both of them. Save. Now to run the process we've just created on a set of records, you go to Alma menu. Under Administration, Manage Jobs, Run a Job. Type Mark 21 Bib Normalization. And here's our job. Populate Originating System Info. Select. This is the one we've just created. Next. Now we select a set of records on which we wish to run the update. So I've created ahead of time the Civil War Research Collection, and that includes the record I showed you with re-examining the Civil War. Next. And here we verify the information to be updated. So we're updating both the originating system to WorldCat and the system version to September 1st, 2015. Next. As soon as possible. Next. And review and confirm. Submit. And you get a confirmation message. Confirm. So the job is running. We'll give it a refresh. And no records were found. That means the job is finished. It's not in the running jobs. We go to History. And we can see here that the job was completed successfully. You can look at the report. 3 records were processed and no errors. So let's look at our record. Here's the original record that we've populated. Let's take a look at it. And you can now see that the originating system version has been populated. In our case, it was updated to September 1st, 2015, which is exactly what we told the normalization routine to do. So in this demonstration, we saw how you can prevent the overlaying of new records by older ones. Alma checks based on the originating system version and the originating system and decides whether to import. We then saw that every record imported after September 2015 will have these fields populated, but for older records, we ran a normalization routine that can populate and update these fields for any records, any set of records. So that is how you make sure you're not downgrading your newer records into older ones. Thank you for joining us.